Alright, what's up? This is going to be the muscle growth course, the gym side of things. So I mean the gym side, this is not like nutrition or anything. This is just going to be the lifting aspect of working out for optimization of only muscle growth. So you only want to build muscle, okay? I have a separate course on nutrition. You probably have that as well. But this is just going to be the gym aspect of muscle building, okay? And I'm not that pink in real life. I'm actually crazy sunburnt. So it's just not like that on the camera. I'm actually this pink in real life. So let's get right into it though. Okay, so starting out, okay, big thing right here, okay, exercise selection. Alright, there's a lot of stuff you see everywhere. You're always like, these are the best exercises, these are the best exercises, and I don't really vibe with any of that, because for me, alright, whatever works best for you, because your genetics, right, you're built differently, I get it, okay, but for me, I just say pick the exercises that give you the best ability to isolate and contract a specific muscle. Okay, now for this, right, there's a lot of stuff that's like, oh, you gotta shock the muscle, you gotta shock the muscle. I disagree, because if you're doing a million different exercises every workout, it's hard to track strength progression, and if you're not tracking strength progression, it means you're probably not getting stronger, and if you're not getting stronger, you're not building muscle, because what is hypertrophy, right? It is muscle building as a result of strength, even though it's strength at a higher rep range, still strength nonetheless. So I would say pick an exercise that gives you the best ability to isolate and contract a certain muscle. Okay, so like example, alright, for legs, we're not going to pick a bench press as our, like, even though it's your favorite, alright, it's not a leg exercise, so don't do bench press as your leg exercise. So for that, I would say, honestly, if you have two exercises, great, because a lot of muscles will have certain parts to it. Like obviously like bicep, you're going to have hammer and strict curl for like the lateral and like the main head. So, or like chest, you already have upper chest. Okay, so for me, like I have like maybe like top 2 or 3 exercises, but other than that, I don't really switch it up that much, because there's only so many exercises you can do. Like how many chest exercises are going to be a certain variation of a push or a fly? Right? How many leg exercises are going to be some variation of a squat or a leg extension or a hamstring curl? Right? Because to a certain extent, like people just want to do wacky shit. And reality is like, if you get the pattern and the range of motion of that muscle, like there's going to be a certain range of motion that ignites that muscle, because that's the way the fibers stretch. There's only like one way that muscle will contract. The bicep is not going to ever contract going this way. It always contract going this way. Okay? So there's only so many movements you can do that with. So I would say figure out which ones are best for you and then do that. Okay? Moving on. Make sure that the only factor in failure, when I mean failure, is like make sure the only factor inside failure in a set. So like if you're doing 12 reps, the only factor in not being able to do the 13th rep is, okay, not being able to keep going with that muscle. So if you're doing bench press, I always just use bench press so I'm sitting down. But bench press, okay, the factor that creates failure needs to be the inability to press. Failure is not, I did 12 reps and I can do 20 reps, but I'm not doing 20 reps, right? The factor in the end of a set needs to be the inability to do one more rep outside of the rep range you're doing. If you're doing 12 reps, the factor in an effective set needs to be, okay, 12. Okay, I gotta do 13. I can't get 13. That's what I mean in an effective set. And if you can't get 13 reps and you're doing lots of 12 rep sets as a max set, that's going to be a large quantity of effective sets, which is going to create hypertrophy. Assuming, right, you get a certain number of sets and you don't like wait a month before you work that muscle out again. Okay, so like I said, not achieving failure example here. Okay, if you don't achieve failure with your shrugs because your forearms give out first, that doesn't mean you did shrugs to failure. It means you did forearms to failure. So with certain muscles, maybe like back or other movements, you need the muscle that's intended to be targeted with the exercise be the factor in failure, right? You can't, if you're trying to target a certain muscle and you don't push that muscle to failure, it's not going to grow. So you can't let others, it's called a synergist, you can't let the accessory muscles be the reason you don't get the main muscle to full effect, okay? So if you gotta do hooks, straps, do whatever it is to get that main muscle hit fully. And usually there's not an issue because it's a bigger muscle, and the smaller muscles you need to isolate to work to failure. But make sure the big muscle's what's going to failure, okay? Like I said, the muscle needs to occur in the muscle you intended to target with the exercise selection. So if you're doing pull-ups, Like, you shouldn't stop because your abs give out, or if you're doing rows, it shouldn't be forearms. It should be rear delts. It should be back. Okay, the failure needs to occur in what you're trying to hit. All right, so ignore this. I deleted what Hall of Fame exercise list. Just ignore it. Okay, moving on. So optimal sets. Okay, with good exercise selection. So this is like a 3-step process. Okay. First, exercise selection. Now, optimal sets with good exercise selection. Okay, and then it goes in like a 3-step. So like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So after we have a good exercise selection, here's what we do. Okay, we have optimal muscle growth set. Okay, is failure induced by the burning sensation. Okay, so now that we have a good exercise selection, let's talk about the optimal set of that. Okay, so failure, okay, induced by a burning sensation. Okay, this can be done with most amount of reps. Okay, but the sweet spot is going to be 10 to 20. And usually, either inability to perform a 13th rep, like I talked about, okay, or failure induced due to inability to keep going, which is usually similar to inability to press in terms of strength. Okay, but the best indicator of failure is that you created such a large burning sensation, either through tempo, or that you cannot complete another rep, or just inability to complete the rep. Okay, that's the best indicator of failure. So if you cannot do the rep, it's a high rep range, but you can't do the rep, that's hypertrophy, it's muscle growth. Okay, but if you get to the point where you literally just can't do it because it burns so bad, all right, that's a muscle growth set. And usually, if you can get both of them, where it's 12 reps and it burns so bad, that's really good. Okay. So if you want to go, quote, past failure, all right, there's a few ways to push your muscles further. Okay, so partial reps, drop sets, and cluster sets. Okay, so an example of a partial rep is if you're doing bench press, okay, and we're doing bench, and we're like, boom, boom, and then we go, 12 reps. Okay, we try to get 13. We can't do 13, so we're stuck. If we do some half reps, assuming we have a spotter, we do some half, and we go even more, and we get our muscles really pumped up, that's an example of a partial rep that can be effective, okay, if you're trying to build muscle. Okay, next is going to be a drop set. So to say, okay, usually people don't do this with free weights, but let's say we are bench pressing, okay, and I do my 12 reps, and then I finish, and then I take some weight off, and I keep going. That's an example of a drop set. It's almost squeezing as much as you can get out of that set as possible by doing more reps with the lower weight, okay? Next is going to be a cluster set, okay? These are less well known to people that are not very advanced lifters. This is more like a powerlifting thing, but it can involve hypertrophy. So if you do 12 reps and you finish your 12 reps, instead, okay, this is not 2 sets, this is still 1 set, and you just finish your 12 and you wait a second or 2, and then you try to get a couple reps and you set it back, and you try to and you do that a couple times. That's called a cluster set, where instead of doing a drop set where you drop the weight, you just, instead of dropping, you just wait a second, and then you try to get a couple reps, and you try to get as many of those, maybe 2 or 3, you know, we don't do 10, and then that would still be 1 set. So we just squeeze some more reps out of that set. Okay, so now, okay, important. So now that we have the best exercise, good exercises, and we're doing an optimal set, a good set with a good exercise, okay, now, well, how many, okay? So good exercise, one good set with good exercises, okay, how many good sets with good exercises do we do in order, over a week, okay, in order to create muscle growth? Because it's yeah, we can do one workout of amazing sets, we can do 1 set. Well, how many sets, okay, for the workout, and then how many sets over the course of a week, which then gives us the blueprint for a program or just how we lift now, right? Because if we're okay, this is the blueprint. If I get X amount of sets in this workout, and then in 4 or 5 days or 6 or 7 days, I hit this many more sets, I know if I do that, forever, I will keep gaining muscle. Okay, so that way you don't have to track or periodize, and you could deload, or you could just take rest days as needed, and you would automatically get the right amount of volume, and you wouldn't overtrain. Okay, so if exercise selection and set performance are both optimal, okay, then the limiting factor in muscle growth is the number of sets you perform on the muscle. So if you have the best exercise and the best set, okay, now, the only reason you wouldn't grow and the only reason you wouldn't build muscle is what? It's how many of those great sets you're going to do, right? Because you can do 1 or you can do 10. You can do 1,000. But if you don't do it consistently, right, like the optimal number of sets, or like enough sets to get you sore, enough sets to stimulate muscle growth, and then there's a certain period, right? So what I'm going to explain is a certain chart made, okay? So it's like, well, there's a certain number of sets that definitely aren't going to grow your muscles, but then there's a certain number of sets that's like, that's way too much, because if you do 100 sets every day, not going to work. So there's a certain sweet spot in the number of sets you need to do from now until next workout, every workout, or like if I do chest, how many sets do I do? So next chest day, I'm fucking ready to go, and like the perfect amount, okay? And it's different for everybody depending on how advanced you are, but you need to figure out what works for you. And usually the best indicator is like a day after you just finished being sore. That's usually best, okay? So if there's like an eyeball or like a feel technique to it, it's the day after you're not sore anymore is usually like when it's go time to hit that muscle again, that I've found, okay? So when using any split, okay, the goal of the separating muscles is to give them a recharge. So if we think about a bro split, right, the only reason we separate the muscles is because we want to go nuts on a muscle, right? And it's like, if think of it, we do one muscle a day, or chest day and then back day. Like, essentially, we give that muscle seven. If we do like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday split, which I don't recommend, but if we like, oh, chest day's Monday. Well, essentially, the only reason we do chest day on Monday is so we get Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before we hit chest again. So the idea is, realistically, shit, we should be sore till Saturday. Okay? So that's why I don't recommend doing a 7-day split like that, because most times you don't need the break that you think you need, because the only reason I'm splitting muscles is to hit that muscle so hard that you're perfectly recovered for the next workout, which is usually way longer than most people take. Okay, so the only reason we don't hit muscle a day, like I said, for 20 sets, is there's a certain amount of set volume they can endure before muscle growth stimulus. So when you think about maybe, okay, a 3-day split, or even doing the certain muscles multiple days, okay, the reason we think about this is because if we did, right, 20 sets, think about how effective those last sets would be. You're not be going high weight, right? Think about your first set though. Now think about if you did 20 of your first set, how effective that would be, how much you would grow, right? Because essentially there would be no weight decrease, because they'd all be maximum intensity. So when you look at separating muscles, okay, we separate. So yeah, the set quantity might be the same, but the intensity is both high. Because if we do, right, if we have a 7-day split, we only do chest on Mondays, and we try to crank out our whole week's worth of set volume in one day, well, it's not that the last sets are going to be ineffective. It's that, imagine if every set was like really good intensity. So imagine we did chest, right, 7 days a week. Okay, and say we had to get 20 sets in a week. Well, instead of doing 20 sets on Monday, think about if we just did 2 or 3 sets a day, because 3 times 7 would be 21. Well, now think how much more intensity you could give each set without getting sore, right? So when the idea of splitting muscles up, the idea is to push that muscle to its brink, to the point where it has X amount of time to recover. So when it is that muscle's turn again, it is perfectly recovered for sets. Okay, so that's the scientific breakdown of why we even have splits in the first place. Okay, so the goal of set volume for you, not me, you, is to find your sweet spot in the maximum amount of volume you can endure per muscle per week. It's different, right? Maybe if you're a fucking IBFF pro, right, and you're on gear, you're not only going to recover way faster, but you're also going to have a way higher tolerance for the amount of sets you can endure before you're dead. That's going to be a lot higher. For the average Joe, it's not going to be that high. Okay, so a good indicator is, hey, the next day or the next couple days, I was sore. That's a good indicator, because it's like, okay, I hit my muscle enough to the point where it's like it's mad, right? Where you wanna stimulate it. Okay, so for me, okay, where am I good? I'm sore for a couple days. Okay. And then you don't even have to be sore. Sore is a good indicator. If you're sore, if you're tired, okay, etc. Alright, so if you look at the programs inside what I do, right, it all follows this certain chart that has to deal with set volume. Okay, so when you look at my charts, right, in my programs, I range my muscles. I don't fucking give you this exercise. Like, it has a goal to it, right? There's a certain range, because I'm not going to tell everybody they have to do this many sets of this, because I don't know. I literally don't know, like, how I can get a guess. Okay, but I don't know for sure what your sweet spot for hypertrophy is. So I'm going to give you a range, and you're going to pick. The lower end, you're going to grow, but it's the lower end. The higher end, you're for sure going to grow, but it might be too much for you. Okay, so there's got to be a certain range that you follow. Maybe if it's 2 to 4, right? If it's whatever it is, you got to have for me, I just give ranges when I program, because I want people to find their sweet spot. I want them to feel their sweet spot. I don't want to just tell them and then they need to feel the sweet spot. Like I said, it's because advanced lifters can take more volume than beginners, because they've been doing it longer. Their muscles are more tolerant, right, of volume. But think about it. If it's like if we all just bench 135, someone who benches a lot is going to be more tolerant of the weight, because their muscles have done it a lot. Okay. So, the lower end of the sets, right, is the lower end for optimal growth, and the higher end is the maximum end for optimal growth. But, okay, if someone's super advanced, they might not get as amazing a stimulus with the lower end. Okay, it might be their maintenance volume. Okay, so in terms of this chart, let's check it out. So if you look at this, okay, there's a couple things in here that might not make sense. All right, MV, that is the maintenance volume. This is not, oh, I don't have to do any workout, I don't have to do any sets. Not true. Don't follow this. MEV, okay, what is the minimum amount of volume, the minimum effective volume, okay, to get any stimulus, okay, to maybe even see some stimulus, right? And now when you see zeros, what does that mean? What does a 0 mean? That means I never have to work it? No, it means some muscles are genetically able to look good on you, right? If you're got a big ass, like girls, if you got a big ass and you're a girl, that is genetic. That's genetic. You genetically have good muscles. Okay? Now, someone with humongous traps by default, right? They might just have genetically big traps. Okay? But for someone who's not just banking on genetics and doing some muscles, okay, let's check it out. So, MAV, minimum adaptable volume. So the minimum amount of volume that your muscles can adapt to. That's why it says adaptable. So what's the adaptable volume? Okay? For your muscles to be able to adapt to stimulus, right? To working out, okay? So if you look at it, it's quite high. And when you see muscles that a lot of people don't ever grow, right? Like muscles, abs, right? Traps. Look at this volume. This is weekly, by the way. This is over a 7-day span, okay? Look at the volume, okay? Biceps. Look at this volume. It's massive amounts of volume, right, that are required for like true muscle growth. Okay, so when you think of this, look at this chart and you know these two columns are going to be the sweet spot. This is maximum recovery volume. So like for the most advanced of the advanced, this is the maximum amount you can push your muscles to the limit in a 7-day window before they can barely physically. Like the upper end of this, the plus, that's for people that are usually on gear. Okay, so for a normal person that's not on steroids, it's going to be MAV. Okay, MAV is going to be your sweet spot. If you get anywhere from this to this, okay, this to this to this, etc., okay, you're going to see muscle growth over a 7-day window. Example, this is why I don't recommend a 7-day split, okay? Because if you do a 7-day split, then you have to give 6 days to recover and still be ready. So think about it. The people that follow a 7-day split, if they're not doing this much volume, they're probably not growing that much. And that's why people that are always like, this split, right? You miss a day, shit, now you're at 8 days, you miss 2 days, boom, you're 9 days out. Because if you think about it, if chest day is Monday, if I miss a day over that 6-day window, I'm now like, not only the fact that I'm probably not doing enough volume, I'm pushing my next day out so far, to the point where I'm probably not even, like, it doesn't even matter. Okay, so for me, what I recommend is a 3 or a 4-day split. And most common examples would be push-pull legs, or like push-pull shoulders, legs, push-pull accessory, whatever, okay? Or even like a full body. Something that's like, hey, I do every one of these muscles every day, but something like biceps, where like, hey, I need 14 sets a week, or I need 20 sets a week. So instead of doing 14 or 20 sets, or 7 sets in a bicep day, well, hey, I'll do 2 sets a day, but I'll also do like 1 set here, 2 set here. I'll do like 1 to 2 sets of all of these every day. So like 6 or 7 days, you multiply it by like 6 times 2 a day, right? 12, right? And you get that volume packed in. But the idea is you need to pack this set volume. So every one of these sets, think about this. Every one of these sets needs to be this. So you need, think about this. Imagine if you did 14 sets of a good exercise with a good set and that number of volume of that good set. Think about how much growth you would get. Okay, and this is why over time people grow faster, right? And you couple that with good nutrition, you're gonna get swole. Okay, so reality is like in terms of what you don't know to build muscle. I don't know the skill. Like, dude, this shit is better than most personal trainers even know. Okay, so this is the shit most people don't know. Okay, so most people don't understand the set volume. They don't understand there's a window of set volume. There's a window because, like, think about it. All right, what's the best? If I work out today, how long do I have until I need to work out again before that workout didn't matter? So if I work out today and don't work out again for a year, well, effectively, yeah, it's my split. It's a 1-year split. But shit, I took a year in between, so it doesn't matter. There's some dead cutoff where I'm like, fuck, that workout didn't matter because I didn't get the growth. So this is the lever in a 7-day window for muscle growth. So you get this number of sets, okay, in a 7-day window, meaning you get this number of total sets over a 7-day period, over a time, right? Let's say a year, okay? Imagine you did all this for a year. Exactly, okay? This is the fucking sweet spot for muscle growth, okay? So when you think about how am I going to do this, all right? Figure out a split, push-pull legs, bro split, whatever, that gives you the ability to miss and not suffer. So I don't recommend a 6 or 7 day split. I recommend 3, 4, or 5, okay, max 5. Because if you think about it, if you think of 3 or 4 or 5, if you think of 3, right, if I only would do 3 separate workouts, maybe I have a upper, lower accessory day, okay, or I have a push, pull, shoulders, legs, or a push-pull legs, right? Or like a fucking chest, back, arms, what, you get it, right? If you think about like a 4, right, I can get a rest day in between, or if I think about it, I got 4 days rest if I go push, pull, shoulders, legs. So I go push and I have 3 rest days before it's push. So if I'm sore here, I pop a rest day and get the next one. Make sense? So for that, okay, I'd do a 4-day split because I like that because I know I can get my 4 days in. I can rest for 3 days and know I'm still on pace for a really good week of set volume, right? Because if you think about it, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, hit it again, 5, 6, 7. You might be sore here if you crush it here, but 4 days, 3 days rest, you know you're good to go, right? Maybe I'll be sore here or here, but I'm always not sore here, and I'm definitely usually not sore here. If I'm sore here, it means I'll take a rest day when I'm not sore, and then I'm here, right? So that's the blueprint, right? Lift, sore, not sore, lift, right? So you lift, and then you don't lift when you're sore on the muscles, okay? And then the day you're not sore is the day you should be prepping for that next muscle group. Okay, so if you follow that with these sets, shit, that's going to happen. And if you don't want to follow this, lift and then make sure you're sore as hell until like a day before the next muscle. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If you follow this, you are guaranteed to get swole.